All right, Russ, you are now live. Let me get you back host. All right, have a great class.
Thank you. Hi, Teresa. Welcome back. Hi, Mary Lou, Jeannie, Michael. Welcome, all of you.
Thank you. I enjoy your classes. I enjoy your classes.
Thanks. Well, I hope you enjoy this one today. This is just what I call Friday fun. Friday fun. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Yuta. Welcome back.
Hey there, how are you?
Good. We're going to travel to yet another place on the globe here this afternoon. Hi, Michael.
Yes.
Why don't people, as they join in, put in the chat where you're from this afternoon. I'm from Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Sacramento.
Ah, Mary's from Gainesville, Florida. Yes, we know this. It must be warmer down there than it is here today. We're actually having a bit of a cold snap hitting the northern part of the country after feeling like it was just about summer a week ago. And
Actually, it's cooler here too.
is it? You're having it also?
It's 80, and last week we were having 90-degree weather, and it will be 90 again in a day.
All right. Well, we've got more than a day to wait for that. We're going to be in this cooler weather for almost another week.
Nice.
Yeah, I have my fireplace on.
Oh my. Where are you?
Alexandria, Virginia.
Uh, well,
But it's by
Therese,
the Potomac, so you know the extra little wind comes off the water.
Right, right.
Yeah.
we're having similar temperatures. I would light a fire this evening, except that I finally cleaned out the fireplace last
Yeah.
week, determined that I wasn't going to have any more this year, and I only would anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, mine is electric, so I don't have to worry about it. I just click the clicker.
There you
And
go.
that's what I'm thinking about doing, converting my wood burning fireplace to electric. I don't
It's so
use it
nice, and it gives a nice even heat, you know,
that-
and you could up and down the temperature, you know, right?
Mhm.
And I like the way it looks. It's not that flaring, old-fashioned thing, you know. It looks really real, you know.
Yeah, and you got to constantly feed that darn wood burner,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. And then you have to have the chimney sweep also there,
Yep,
you know, to
every
clean it
year.
out. And
Mhm.
And
I
that's
had
the
one of
thing, yeah.
those in my last condo. So I said, with this new condo, I'm sorry, I don't want a wood one. It's too much work.
I figured I'd wait till it's really hot out and then get them to do that because I figure
Yes.
maybe I'll get a lower price.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't know about where you are. Where are you at, Mary?
In Florida, North
Oh,
Central Florida.
yes. Okay. Okay.
Well, welcome everybody. We'll give a couple minutes more for people to join in. Those that have joined have put in the chat where they're from. We have Jeannie from Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan, near Detroit. Teresa's from Alexandria. Mary Lou is from Mason, Michigan. And Mary Munson is from Gainesville, Florida. That's where the University of Florida is, correct?
Yes,
So-
go Gators.
If anyone else wants to put in the chat where they're from today. And we have John, our TA, with us, and he can help you with any technical issues, and he'll also scoop up questions in the chat. So while we're going to do this a video this afternoon, so you can put in questions while the video's going. Jean is from Houston and Pam is from Grand Rapids. And I know that Joanne Thomas is from Horseshoe Bay, Texas. And Bev and Peter from Ohio. Welcome. Great to have you with us again. Lots of familiar faces and names here. Anybody here new to get set up this afternoon? Nope. Okay. Some of you new to travel classes, maybe? No, everybody's done the travel classes. Great. Your names are all familiar to me, but I am always looking for new folks. Over the last month, we've been visiting various destinations by video. In some cases, we've been looking at foods, and that's what we're going to do this afternoon. We're going to look at the foods of Oaxaca, Mexico. And the reason I picked this one is because my son-in-law, who's from Mexico, has showed me a whole lot of videos about foods from Oaxaca. He said they have the best food there. And so as I thought about starting some series on different foods and travel destinations, I decided, well, I'm going to start right with Oaxaca because I want to go there and eat. And you can tell me when we're done today if you also want to go there and eat.
Arrange a trip.
I'll tell more about them. Anybody here actually been to Oaxaca? No one's been to Oaxaca. You know, one reason I'm doing Mexico this month also is that Mexico is a place Americans can travel to. There are no restrictions on going to Mexico. I'm not advocating going there. I mean, because of the COVID-19, I'm not advocating anyone necessarily travel. We can all should be dreaming for a bit, but it is a place you can go. Coming back may be another question, but I think that may loosen up a bit and become easier as well. Welcome, Kay and Melinda, Tammy, Jane, good to see you all this afternoon as we venture a bit farther south down to Oaxaca, Mexico. And we'll give maybe one more minute to see. Well, I think we'll go ahead and start. Let me do a screen share here with you and talk a little bit about Oaxaca, Mexico, and the foods of Oaxaca. And you should see something that says Foods of Oaxaca. I'm your guide, Russ Eanes. I'm from Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm a writer, walker, and a cyclist. I formerly was a book publisher. And when I was a publisher, my favorite thing was helping authors shape their ideas into a book. And I love the energy I get and the wisdom I collect from working with older adults. That's why I am now a full-time guide with Get Set Up. Get Set Up helps you learn useful things from people like you so you can do wonderful things, useful skills, I should say. We learn from each other. Ideally, we can see you and your cameras are on. You can request a recording of this class after the class. You email help@getsetup.io. And if anyone is joining by live stream, the best way to participate is to join us and register for a class. And lastly, Get Setup's not paid to promote any specific products. We are strictly an educational organization. This is Oaxaca, Mexico. And I've discovered that most of us from the United States don't know Mexico very well. We don't know the names of the states and we don't know where they are. Oaxaca is in far southern Mexico. The farthest southern state is Chiapas, and Oaxaca is right next to it here. And the state of Oaxaca looks like this. It's quite mountainous. These elevations here are in meters. So these are peaks over 10,000 feet, some of them. And the capital, main city, is the city of Oaxaca. And we're going to be looking at a city of Atlacan, which is about where the A is on Oaxaca here this afternoon, and talking about some of the fabulous foods. Oaxaca is known as a place, it's nicknamed the land of the seven moles. And I have only discovered recently what mole is. It is a type of sauce, and it can have up to like 40 different ingredients in it. My daughter made some mole that her husband's mother gave her the recipe of, and they've been passing it down through generations. It kind of reminded me of a very thick gravy or pudding. It was delicious. Many people keep the recipes of their mole secret. Oaxaca is also a state that has 16 different indigenous groups, and I believe that it is the state of Mexico that has the largest indigenous population. And it was once the home of a very advanced culture about 2,500 to 3,500 years ago. And it also was the place where the first Mexican Revolution to overthrow the Spanish colonial power started. So it has quite a history. Now, what I chose today were a couple of different videos about the foods of Oaxaca, and they're unique. And so when it comes to talking about Mexican food, there is no single food that is Mexican. There are many, many Mexican foods. And Oaxaca is famed for its delicious cuisine and its unique cuisine. And so the two different videos I've got for you today, one is a lot longer than the other, have just a little bit of overlap with some of their cuisine, but they'll talk about many of these unique things that you get in a Mexican food market or Mexican market, the food you get in a Mexican market in Oaxaca. And I'm also curious, as you watch these videos, what you think of the difference between the two. So that's where it's going to be a little bit of fun. And I won't say anything about it. We'll talk about it a bit at the end, which one you liked more than the other. But I'm going to stop my share here for 1 second because I'm going to share so that you can see a video. So we'll optimize for video clip. And then I'll reshare. And now we'll look at foods of Oaxaca.
We're in the state of Oaxaca and we're here to eat.
This Oaxaca series is all about sharing with you some of this amazing state's delicious food. Every week, the town of Ocotlán hosts one of the biggest traditional markets in Oaxaca state. This place is a feast for the senses. This is our second video from Oaxaca, and we're taking you into the heart of the market to discover some traditional and delicious Oaxacan foods. In this massive Mexico series, we'll show you some of the country's best food, from Mexican street food to heritage recipes. You don't want to miss this series. Get ready for some mouth-watering food.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Sheena, and we're chasing a plate.
We hope you're hungry. Let's eat.
We are so excited to be filming a massive series here in the state of Oaxaca. Oaxaca is regarded as one of the gastronomic hearts of Mexico, and this video is going to be set at Ocotlán Market. Now, every Friday in the town of Ocotlán, there is a huge traditional market. People come from all around the surrounding villages and towns. They come in to trade, they come in to shop, they come in to eat, to catch up with their neighbors. And this place is a riot of color and produce and food and live animals. It's a really, really exciting place. We're here to eat, of course, and have a wander around and show you how spectacular this traditional market is.
This is such a full-on market. We were here 2.5 years ago and it's so good to be back so we can film it and show you guys. So it's outside of Oaxaca City. We caught a bus here. It took about an hour, just over an hour. So a very easy bus ride. This place is amazing. So it's only on Fridays. It takes over all the streets in the center of Ocotlán. So it's over a number of blocks. It's a bit of a maze to get around. There's different sections. It's a super exciting place. And there's some really good food we want to show you.
I've spotted one of our things on our hit list of things to eat, and that is an empanada. So let's go and grab one. Hola, buenos dias.
Hola, buenos dias.
This is mole de amarillo. ¿Sí? Una empanada, por favor. So these are the empanada cooking here on the comal, this shallow pan really. So the empanada in Oaxaca is basically a big tortilla that's filled with filling and then folded in half. Not like the empanada that we're used to, the deep fried pastry pockets. We've eaten this before and it is very good. It is stuffed full of mole, a yellow mole called amarillo mole. I really love watching the empanadas getting made. So the tortilla is being pressed to order. It's a beautiful yellow color, very vivid, and it's about this big, so quite big. It gets put on the comal, which is the pan, and then a ladle of the yellow mole gets put on top, some pieces of shredded chicken, and then it just gets folded in half and then slowly cooked on that griddle pan. Now, mole is one of those iconic dishes of Oaxaca. It's essentially a sauce which is made up of a number of ingredients, up to sometimes 40 ingredients. This yellow mole, it gets its color from a yellow chili, and it's got all sorts of things in it, like garlic and tomatoes and tomatillos, and you can see the chunks of chicken in there, and then I think this might be coriander. Señora, is this cilantro? Sí, and hoja santa? No, just cilantro. Ah, sí, gracias. So this is just cilantro, so the coriander in there. This is going to taste real good, I reckon. What I might do is just chuck some lime on there. And then some of the fresh onion. Mmm. 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 The yellow mole is quite subtle in flavor, so it's not spicy at all. It's just got a beautiful, rich flavor. You can really taste that chicken. It's very strong. And then the bursts of cilantro are really, really good. Mmm. Mmm. I love the tortilla. It's got a really strong corn flavor. It's very earthy, and it's a little bit crispy as well from being on that comal.
It really is an amazing market to walk around. There is so much going on. So we're in the sort of the fruit and veg section at the moment, and it is chaos in here. Brilliant chaos. There's so much good fruit and veg to see. There's all this amazing, oh, sorry, disculpe, all this meat over here hanging and meat being cooked. So you've got a beautiful smell of that in the air. It's an unreal place to explore.
Up ahead are a number of stalls which are selling barbacoa. So it's sort of like barbacoa alley. Barbacoa is usually a sheep or lamb or goat. Barbacoa de chivo. See. Okay, so it's goat at this stall, and she's chopping it up. It looks so moist and tender. I think we've got to order some. Oh, gracias. So this lady's given me a little sample to try. Look at that silky fat, the meat. Oh my goodness.
Esta es la barbacoa mexicana. Esta es la
Muy
mexicana.
rico.
Sí.
It is incredible. Melts in your mouth. It's got a great savory taste, and it's really well seasoned. We've definitely got to order some. Muchas gracias. So this lady has popped by with a bunch of tortillas. So we've got a stack of tortillas. I got 5 or 4, I think. So that's 5 pesos. Muchas gracias. We put in our order of barbacoa, and when it arrived we realized that we needed to double it. So we've got 2 plates of barbacoa, and then we've got some consomme here, so which is a broth which is filled with bits of goat meat, and then there's also a ton of vegetables in there. I can see some carrots, some beans, some chayote, and then we've got agua de Jamaica, which is an agua fresca, so a fruit water. This is the hibiscus water, and then we've got our stack of tortillas.
This meat looks incredible. It was so neat watching it getting cut up. So it's very, very soft. She had a neat little axe sort of device which she was using to crack through the bones, and the meat just falls apart. So the barbacoa is quite a special meal, quite hard to prepare. It's cooked in a big pit, covered in maguey leaves, and takes a long time to cook. So very, very slowly roasted, and that explains why it's just so soft and tender. I mean, look at this piece of meat. I'll just put 2 forks on there, and I'm not doing anything really there. That is just breaking apart with absolute ease. So we've ordered the portions of the meat, so that's goat meat, and then we've ordered this, which we think is a blood cake. We're not actually 100% sure what it is, but it looks very much like a blood cake with things cooked down in it. So you can see some onion there. I think there's some chili in there. And how this meal works is you get an array of things on the table to go with it all. So we have a salsa verde, which should be nice and fiery. You can see it nice and runny. Got a whole lot of vegetables and chilies here, some cabbage and some limes. Of course, in Mexico, there's always going to be limes on the table. So really, it's about grabbing your tortilla and making up what you want to eat. So I want a bit of everything, so that's what I plan to do. So let's get a nice big chunk of the meat. We get some of this this sort of blood cake on there. I'll get a nice big whack of that, because I think that will be nice and creamy, that cake. And then it's all about the extras. So we'll get a bit of the salsa verde. Pile that on top. And this plate of vegetables. So we've got a whole lot to choose from. Definitely some coriander. Sprinkle some coriander on. Bloomin' missed with most of that, but it's all right. We'll get some cabbage on there. Some little bits of the cut chili, so just little cubes of chili. Who knows how spicy they're going to be. You never quite know here in Mexico with the salsas and the chilies. Sometimes they're just nice and sweet and tangy. Other times they absolutely kick you in the back of the head. So we'll see what happens. Wrap that up into a lovely little morsel. Oh. That meat So soft and so full of flavor, nice and rich. Beautiful. The chilies, although I think it was actually the salsa verde, is spicy. It's really got me in the throat. A little bit hiccupy. Nothing wrong with that. Really good. And I like the crunch of the cabbage on there. Just gives it a little bit of crunch when you've got this super soft meat. And the tortilla in this instance isn't too flavoursome, which is good because you want that flavour of the meat to come through. I couldn't really taste this this blood cake amongst everything, although it's got a bit of fat in there as well. I feel like it might be some sort of blood cake that's wrapped in something or mixed with something. Yum. Really creamy, a little bit spicy. It's got a real herb flavour. That is beautiful. And I'm loving the surrounds that we're sitting in. So you can see that we're sort of in amongst the market. So all the fruit and veg is just down over there. But in little pockets within the market, there's little food sections. And this is one of those food sections, but there's still things being sold all around here. I can see a whole lot of grasshoppers for sale over here. There's a whole lot of cakes beside us, a fruit and veg stall right there. So we're still absolutely surrounded by the goings on of the market. So there's a lot to look at, a lot to take in, and the food is very good.
We're just cutting through this main market hall. There's an area where there are permanent fonders or small family-run restaurants where you can grab a bite to eat, but we're going to find some more street food. This next stop is one that I am so excited to share with you guys. Ever since we knew we were coming back to Oaxaca, this is the place that I wanted to film at. It's a Nieves spot, and Nieves is hand-churned water-based ice cream, and Oaxaca has a really famous flavor combination which we have to show you, and it's so delicious. We're in the Nieves area. There's a whole bunch of different stands doing this hand-churned water-based ice cream. We're going to grab a Nieves from this spot here. Hola, buenas tardes. Una leche quemada con tuna, por favor. So the Nieves is hand-churned in these devices called garrafas. And you've got ice and salt in there, and they mix it and scrape it, mix it and scrape it, and it has a really, really interesting consistency. So we've ordered the Oaxacan specialty. This is tuna, which is prickly pear, and it goes with leche quemada, which is burnt milk, this creamy one. Muchas gracias. Oh, I'm so excited to get into this. Look at how beautiful that tuna is. It's a bright red, and then that burnt milk on the bottom. Let's go and eat. I've been dreaming about this flavor combination for 2 years. I'm beyond excited to be back here eating this. So this is a famous Oaxacan Nieves combination. This here on the top, the red one, is the tuna, which is prickly pear cactus. And then the white one is leche quemada, which is burnt milk. So I'm just going to get a spoonful with both of those Nieves flavors on there. Oh, holy moly. This is exactly like how I remembered it. The tuna is very sweet. It's got quite a floral flavor. And then the leche quemada is like nothing else. It is smoky, it's intense, it's got a real depth of flavor, it's savory. It's honestly, it's so smoky. It tastes like charcoal, but it works perfectly with the tuna because it balances it out. This is such an amazing combination. And this is such a neat atmosphere. We're sitting right smack bang in the middle of the market. We're surrounded by everyone tucking into their Nieves. It's a really neat atmosphere. I think what also adds to the specialness, I suppose, of Ocotlán is that it's got a really high indigenous culture. Like the presence of the indigenous people is really strongly felt here. There are lots of women in indigenous dress. All their hair is done beautifully with ribbons tied through their hair. It's a really, really special place.
Something that I really like about this market is it truly feels like a community coming together. So this is a small town. It's a small country town. So you've got all these people coming from that live out in the country coming together just on a Friday to sell their wares, restock for the week. So there is a lot going on, which is really neat. It's got a real sort of community feel to it. It's a really nice place. We've actually just walked into the live bird section, which is a pretty intriguing place to be.
We thought we'd do some fruit and vegetable shopping while we're here. And I spotted some really lovely looking papayas, so we're going to grab one of those. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
This is one spectacular market. Now, definitely there's not as much food prepared to eat here as some other markets around the world, but it's not all about that. It is just the most incredible place to explore. So the food we did have, really high quality.
It was really, really good.
So good.
Especially the nieves. Oaxaca is famous for its nieves, and those nieves flavors tasted just 10,000 times better than the ones in Oaxaca City, to be honest, right?
And it was much cheaper than the stuff you get in the city. And the fruit and veg we bought was much cheaper than in the city. So an incredible market, a place we love the food, and that nieves. Oh, heaven. What a day.
Recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, Oaxaca is a small city in central Mexico. Originally founded by the Aztecs, the city is beautiful to look at. But for many, the major draw here is the food. We begin with a regional dish, sometimes referred to as Mexican pizza.
La clayuda tiene siglos de que se inventó la clayuda. Antes de la pizza nosotros ya estábamos haciendo la clayuda. Yo soy Brígida Manzano y estamos en 20 de noviembre y Nuño del Mercado, Centro, Oaxaca. Tenemos dos clases de tortillas, que es la grande y la chica. Debe de ser al carbón para que te dé el sabor, porque si no, no sabe. Cuando se hace la clayuda, se le echa primero el asiento, va la pasta de frijol, va el quesillo, va la verdura y luego la salsa. Y al último va la carne, bien sabrosa. Tengo 27 años de estar aquí y mis hijas me ayudan, es una familia completa. Pues para nosotros, oaxaqueños, pues la clayuda, que son la tradición de Oaxaca. Si ya vienes con 2, 3 chelas, pues te cae bien una clayudita de gusanito, mire.
Another Oaxacan specialty is this next drink, which to make requires a lot of elbow grease.
Si es la primera vez que tú ves cómo se realiza el tejate, puede que te parezca raro, pero es una tradición que venimos arrastrando desde hace siglos. Mi nombre es Abigail, ella es mi abuela Dominga y juntas hacemos tejate en calle Fresnos y Sauces número 107, Santa Lucía del Camino, Oaxaca. El tejate es una bebida prehispánica y festiva, pero ahora en la ciudad lo tomamos todos los días. El tejate se compone de 2 masas, una de cacao y una de maíz. Después estas 2 masas se mezclan con la mano. Después se le agrega agua poco a poco, hasta que la masa del tejate se disuelve. Una vez que la flor del cacao brota, se sabe que el tejate estará listo. Cuando yo bebo el tejate, puedo sentir sabores sutiles de cacao y me recuerdan a una fiesta, a cultura, a tradición, a origen. Si nunca lo has probado, el tejate te va a encantar.
Another favorite of Oaxaca is this snack, which we were told is delicious any time of the day.
La memela es un platillo tradicional de Oaxaca. Estas memelas las pueden conseguir fuera de Oaxaca, pero no son iguales. Mi nombre es Karen, el puesto se llama Memelitas Doña Mari y estamos en Oaxaca, en el fraccionamiento San José La Noria. El puesto lleva 33 años, aquí en la misma esquina. Una memela es una tortilla de maíz preparada con asiento que es la grasa de la carne de puerco frita. Lleva pasta de frijol, salsa y queso. Lo que la hace especial es la salsa que mi abuelita prepara y es una receta secreta. El primer sabor al morder la memela es el picor de la salsa. Tienes que saber cómo comerla. Y particularmente aquí se comen con las manos, pero no puede ser un desastre. Tienes hambre y una memela.
And finally, we finished with something sweet and a little prickly.
Mira, quien viene a Oaxaca y no prueba una nieve de tuna roja, no probó los sabores de Oaxaca. Mi nombre es Paulino González Martínez. Soy el propietario de la nevería típica de la Reina Siboney, ubicado en el corazón de la villa de Sachila, Oaxaca, México. La nieve de tuna precisamente se elabora a partir del fruto de un cactus silvestre que se produce en la Mixteca oaxaqueña. Para que puedas elaborar la nieve de tuna, lo que vas a hacer es sacarle la pulpa a la fruta, la vas a machacar, se le va a poner el azúcar y el agua nada más. Y ya la pones a congelar entre lo que es una garrafa tradicional de acero inoxidable, un barril de madera, y de ahí le pones la sal de mar y la empiezas a girar, y como se lleva a cabo el movimiento del sistema solar. Es el sabor de Oaxaca, ni más ni menos.
The video that was trying to start is one for next time about a guy bike packing in Oaxaca. I was just going to mention right here the main foods that they talked about today: tlayudas, mole, tejate, memelas, and the prickly pear ice cream. And I'll send you those in the notes if you want to look up how to make them. Is anyone here familiar with any of those foods? Have you had them anywhere before? I was fascinated by a whole bunch of things that they were doing there. First of all, I really enjoy watching how they made the tortillas. The way they either rolled them up in a ball, or the one woman in the first video had it in more like a long roll, and then they put them under those things where they flattened them. They flattened them out like a press. In fact, the one woman, the first one, she even put the press over twice because they were making enormous tortillas. You think we talk about small and large tortillas. I mean, I think the one was, well, in the second video, I think the small tortilla was bigger than 12 inches and the large one might have been 18 inches. But I love the way they were making those corn tortillas. I know that's the way they make them there traditionally, but I'd never seen them use that press until today. I've always wondered how they got them out, how they got them so nice and flat. So it might be something I'm going to be looking for, is one of those tortilla presses.
They use the tortilla presses down here in some of the Mexican restaurants.
Okay.
You can buy the metal ones that you can use in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
small, it's a lot smaller than the ones they're using.
I like the idea of the large tortillas because you can fold them up and put all sorts of things in them. And then I like in the second video, they were taking those tortillas and they were folding them up several times and then putting kind of things on top of them. So the first series is Chasing a Plate. That's a couple that goes around the world tasting various cuisines. And the second one is called The Great Big Bites. And of course, it was much shorter. I'll come back to those two videos at the end about the different styles of them, because I want to do some other food videos from Mexico, and I'm really curious what people thought. But I love those foods. They were there. Those are unique. Those are types of foods, what we might think of as Mexican food, that we don't traditionally get here in the US. And I like the way they were taking those large tortillas and spreading everything out very thin all over it, because it was such a big tortilla, then folding it up. I told my wife it reminded me a little bit of a quesadilla, the way they were making them. I also found the reason I wanted you to see the second one was they showed in a little more in more detail how they were making that ice, the Mexican ice, and which is basically just the fruit, some sugar, and water, which is I think sort of the essence of what sherbet is. And then they were making it in the same way that you would make ice cream here in the U.S. Did you notice how they had those metal pots and they immersed them in ice water with salt, which is the same thing you do in an ice cream maker. And then they were just spinning them by hand. So it's kind of similar to how you would take an ice cream maker and crank it. Does the same kind of thing of mixing it with the salt in the ice water drops the temperature outside of it to below freezing. And that's how you are able to get ice cream. We used to make ice cream with a hand cranked ice cream maker. But I thought that was really fascinating, the way they made that prickly pear. And I don't know if you were noticing the prices. I think the prices since the videos have been made would be even less for some of those things. Looks like you could get all that food for about $5 or $6, which is a pretty good price. Anybody else have a comment about anything? What jumped out to you on those foods that we were looking at today?
Good, looked delicious.
Yeah, in the first video, which was when they had the ice cream and the 2 layers, she kept saying tuna, and I kept thinking it was like tuna fish until she explained it was the prickly pear. So I kept trying to imagine what it was until it got explained.
That was confusing. I know when my wife and I watched this, we kept saying that's not tuna. She's looking at that's a prickly pear ice cream. So I'm not sure she's also got a heavy Australian accent. So she might've been saying something a little bit different than what we're imagining, but it definitely wasn't tuna is in the fish.
I'm originally from Belize and I've traveled like in Guatemala and in Yucatan, Quintana Roo, and you see variations of the flat tortilla and adding stuff to it. Throughout Guatemala, you see the same thing.
Great. Thanks, Michael. I'm curious what people thought of the difference between the 2 different videos. The second one was a lot faster moving. I'm wondering if people found that just as interesting or too fast moving.
I thought they complemented each other.
Oh, great to hear.
Yeah.
The other thing interesting in the first one was when she was showing those empanadas. And I find the whole concept of what an empanada is to be fascinating, because I had empanadas in Colombia and they were about the size of your fist. And they were basically a tortilla with something inside of it. And then I had empanadas in Spain. And in Spain, the empanadas were 2 large, very doughy tortillas, almost like a pie crust, with maybe about 1 inch of filling in between them, and then tucked up and sealed all the way around the edge and then baked. Very different, but all called empanada. Basically, it's something stuffed is the way I would call what they we've referred to as an empanada, and then fried or baked.
I had empanadas in Jamaica that were chicken enchiladas, but they were basically like a small tortilla, filled and folded over in half. Good.
Anybody else ready to go eat some of that food, or was it just me?
I'd like to try the prickly pear, whatever it is, ice cream.
Well, it was interesting. She kept referring to that leche quemada. And when my wife watched it, she said that's burnt milk. And that's what, of course, this woman kept saying over and over again, that also has a flavor of something smoky and something burnt. And so I'm really fascinated how they did that. Yeah, it was just the way they were fixing food. I mean, I've seen other videos, some other segments and pieces about foods in Oaxaca. And of course, it's very hard to get it all together. I mean, they made a reference in the first video, the Chasing a Plate folks, to the grasshoppers. And I've seen some other some video of that, of how they do the fried or roasted or whatever grasshoppers actually looked pretty good. I have to admit, and the people that were eating them said they were pretty good. So that's another thing, that's another unique food. I think there's obviously more than just the 5 or 6 or 7 things we were seeing today. I also liked the little stands right on the side of the road where you could get a snack, and that's the way it is down there. People preparing things all day long that you can just walk by and eat, and that is literally street food.
So is there even such a thing as a taco down there, or is that just totally not in the region, language? That's just not what.
There are tacos. I think it's just from a different region of Mexico. That's why I have to chuckle when people talk about Mexican foods, because there are so many varieties of Mexican foods.
But that taco might look different than the taco you find north or something.
Right.
Same thing.
Yep. Someone mentioned the cheese from Oaxaca, and I'm not sure what they have, but it looked like what they call queso fresco, which is a softer white cheese that looks a bit like, what's the cheese from Greece? Somebody help me out here.
It looks like feta, really.
It looks like feta cheese. Thank you. But it's not, and you expect it to crumble like feta, but it's not. It slices somewhere between a cheddar and a mozzarella, a little bit harder than mozzarella, not quite as hard as a cheddar. And we put it on a lot of things. It's a very mild tasting cheese, but it gives a good flavor. And they were using it in various ways, including, it looked like it was kind of shredded. They were spreading it around on those large tortillas. The other thing I found really interesting was the, is it tejate, the drink, which was a mixture of corn, dough, and cacao. And when we went to Colombia, both times, we noticed that the Colombians drink their cocoa very differently. And in one place we went to, actually, we were on a long hike and we got up to a bird preserve, and there was like a little cafe there, very rustic. And and I had this in other places in Colombia as well, where their cocoa is not made with milk, but it's made with cacao and water and something to sweeten it. And then they float a big chunk of cheese in it, which seems strange to us until we realized that we might put milk or cream in a cocoa, and we don't think anything of it. That was their way of getting it kind of milky, and it was actually very good. So that's another thing there that looked quite unique, and I read about, was the tejate, and I would really like to try that. Also, the way it was kind of creamy on the surface, and she said that was sort of the sign that it was ready to serve and to drink when it got that kind of that, I shouldn't say creamy, almost like fluffy something on the surface of it, and that was the time to eat it, to drink it. Looked really good. And it sounds
Didn't you say the dough floated or something?
Yeah, or the cacao was floating or something. Yeah, and she said that's the time. Yeah, so it looked very good.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know the cacao's from Latin America. That's where it comes from, even though we think of chocolate as coming from Switzerland or Germany or someplace like that. Any more comments? I'll be continuing with some more classes on traveling in Mexico. We'll be looking at Guanajuato, which is considered by some to be the most beautiful city in the world. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and also they have some unique foods. So we'll see some of the differences next week in looking at the foods of Guanajuato versus Oaxaca. And next Monday night, I'll do a class on the ancient civilizations of Mexico, because many of us don't realize that they had sophisticated civilizations at the same time that if we're European, my ancestry is European, that they were having very similar civilization in Europe. So very complex, large cities and building pyramids. And quite a bit of that is also in Oaxaca, in those areas of southern Mexico. So we'll be doing a segment class on that Monday night. So I welcome you to come back and join me at 7:30 Monday evening. Any other questions or comments from today besides the fact that it looked good? Well, I want to thank you all for joining us. And as always, I love feedback. You'll get an email after this class with some notes, and I'll mention the foods that you saw today and also a link to a site I found that explains them more in detail, including how you can make some of them, which I'd like to try. And also anything we can do to make the class better. I appreciate your feedback. You all have a good Friday, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.